Hello and welcome to Nice and Blunt. We got a hell of a game on Monday night. We got a division rivalry between the LA Rams and the Arizona Cardinals. This game has shootout written all over it, so odds are there's going to be plenty of players we want in our lineups. Who are we starting and who are we benching? Let's find out. First off, let's discuss the defenses. On the season, the Cardinals' defense have been great. They rank 4th in passing defense, only giving up 205 yards per game, 16th in run defense, only 114 yards per game, and 4th in points allowed. Only 18.7 points per game is what the Cardinals are giving up on average. So this is going to be a difficult game for Matthew Stafford. The Cardinals will do their best to limit Cooper Kupp. They were very good at that in the first matchup in Week 4. Kupp saw 13 targets in that game, but only caught 5 of them for 64 yards, did not score a touchdown. So Jefferson and Odell Beckham are going to need to step up. Odell's volume came down last week after dealing with a hip injury. He only saw 5 targets, caught 2 of them, but did get in the end zone. He is a bit touchdown dependent, and that's why I only have him at number 30, but I think odds are you kind of want to start him. I definitely feel more confident in Van Jefferson, though, who I think could be leaned on if Cooper Kupp is double-teamed for the majority of the game. I've bumped him up to my wide receiver 22 in my rankings, just behind T. Higgins and Darnell Mooney. I think he's a great play this week. He's gotten at least 7 targets in each of his last 4 games, and he's an excellent start, in my opinion. In Week 14, you want him in your lineup. He has a ton of upside. But in that Week 4 game, despite rushing for 6.4 yards per carry, Darrell Henderson only saw 14 carries as the Rams were just forced to abandon the run in the second half. The Cardinals want you to run the ball because they're great in the red zone. They can hold you to a field goal, and their offense is so explosive that it just makes it more difficult on you to catch up with them as the game moves on. So the starting running back for the Rams is going to be very efficient. I think they'll have a good game, but I'm a little bit worried that they are abandoned in the second half. Darrell Henderson is dealing with a thigh injury, and he is questionable for this game. So it's kind of complicated. I wish it was more clear, but I do think that he's going to play. Last week he was active, however, he didn't get a single snap, and Sony Michel was dominant, rushing for 121 yards and a touchdown on 24 carries. He also caught another 3 passes for 8 yards. I have a feeling they held out Darrell Henderson against the Jaguars because they didn't need him to win, and this game particularly is very, very important. If the Rams win, they'll only be 1 game back of the Cardinals for the division, and you know that they'd rather have a home game, not have to deal with a wild card spot. So this is very important. The Cardinals would lose that number 1 seed and the bye week because they lost to the Packers, who would have the tiebreaker. So it's very important for both teams, and because of its importance, I think they wanted to have Henderson available for this game, and that's why I feel confident he does play. If he does, I have him ranked at number 14, right between Javonte Williams and Chuba Hubbard. I do expect he'll get about 15 touches in this one. And Sony Michel will get some work. He earned it after last week's performance, but I don't think it's going to be enough volume to merit start consideration. I only have him ranked as my running back 29. If somehow Henderson doesn't play, though, then Michel gets the start, and he would become a top 12 running back without a doubt. But I just don't expect that to happen, and it's also on Monday night. It's too risky to plan for, unfortunately. On the other side of the ball, though, the Rams' defense is pretty legit. They rank 16th in pass defense, kind of average 238 yards per game, but 7th in run defense, only 100 yards per game is what they've allowed, so that's definitely elite. But they only rank 16th in points allowed this season, 22.5 points scored per game on average. In their first matchup against the Cardinals, though, they gave up 37 points and just couldn't stop the run. Chase Edmonds busted a 54-yard run and went for 122 rushing yards on only 12 carries, averaging 10 yards per carry. James Conner ran the ball 18 times for only 50 yards, though, 2.8 yards per carry, but he did score 2 touchdowns as well. So he had a great fantasy day, and I think it's going to be a similar type of game. If James Conner is the starting running back and gets this job all to himself, then I would rank him as a top 8 running back. The volume would be tremendous. However, it does appear as though Chase Edmonds is going to be available for this game and activated off IR just in time. So if that happens, I would drop Connor down a few spots, but only to running back 13, so right above Darrell Henderson and below Javonte Williams. But Edmonds would only become a flex play for me, though. It would kind of be hard to fully trust him in his first game back. After missing 3 games with an injury, I don't think the volume is going to be a full workload like what he was getting before, and he has been kind of a liability on the red zone. All of the touchdowns overwhelmingly have gone to Connor when these two have been on the field, so I don't really love his upside, but I do think he has a good floor, and that's why I rank him as my running back 23. He's an okay flex option, but the upside is kind of capped. I would definitely prefer Connor if I was picking between the two. In that first matchup, though, in week 4, Jalen Ramsey, held DeAndre Hopkins to only 4 receptions for 67 yards. So not an amazing game from Hopkins, but still pretty decent. The Rams let AJ Green and Max Williams, the tight end, each go for 5 receptions and 66 yards and a touchdown, though. So they were exploited in other ways. They didn't need to rely on DeAndre Hopkins in order to win. I think the tight end position is an area of weakness for the Rams defense. They've given up a lot of yards to that position this season, so I think Zach Ertz has a pretty decent floor this week. But last week I got a little worried because he only saw 2 targets in Kyler Murray's first game back. They didn't need to throw the ball that much, though. So I think he's kind of like typical a top 12 tight end, but I'm hesitant to rank him inside my top 12 because of the volume concerns. I do think that Kyler will get all of his receivers involved, and each of them have a decent floor, but kind of cap each other's upside. But if I could only pick one, I would definitely prefer to play Christian Kirk. He definitely stepped up pretty big when Hopkins was out, and he is definitely the number 2 wide receiver for this offense. I have him ranked as my wide receiver 28, so 2 spots above Odell Beckham. I would take Christian Kirk over OBJ. However, Ramsey will be covering Hopkins once again, and in their last 3 matchups since they've been in the same division, Hopkins only catches 53% of his targets, which is down considerably from this season's average of catching 72.5%. So I do expect a downgrade for Hopkins this week, but not enough to bench him. He is very involved in the red zone, and I still rank him as a top 15 wide receiver. He may not go over 100 yards, but unless you have a few elite options to start over him, I doubt you would bench him yourself. The Rams had no answers for the Cardinals in that first matchup this season, and based on how poorly they've played recently, I don't expect it to be much different. In their 3-game losing streak lately, right before that win over the Jags, the Rams defense was giving up an average of 32 points per game to their opponents. I think Kyler's going to be lights out once again on Monday night. It looked like he was fully healthy last week against the Bears, putting up 30 fantasy points. So you're obviously starting him. He is a top 3 quarterback pretty much the rest of the season. Stafford is a little less obvious, though. I am not expecting this game to be lights out for him, but I think it's going to be good enough to merit a top 10 play in fantasy. This game has shootout potential, and at least in the second half, they will throw the ball quite a bit. So I think for fantasy, he's going to have a good stat line. I've ranked him at number 9, so definitely a low-end top 10 quarterback, but still inside the top 10. I'm not eager to bench him, but it doesn't feel like an obvious start either. But otherwise, I'm not interested in the defenses at all for this game. Both teams could put up 30. If I had to pick one, I would take the Cardinals, but they're only my defense 11 this week. I think you could find a better streamer. So that's going to wrap up this video. If you still have a question, go ahead and leave me a comment down below, or check out one of my other videos here. And if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content. My name is Adam Riancho, and thank you for watching Nice and Blunt.